The water was clear, sparkling under the late afternoon sun, but beneath its shimmering surface was a scene no one should ever witness. A woman, pregnant and fragile, was struggling as her husband, the man who had once vowed to protect her, forced her head beneath the rippling pool water. Her lungs screamed for air, her heart raced for her unborn child, and in that terrifying moment she wondered if this was how her story would end. The luxurious estate was quiet, no neighbors in sight, no party music to drown out her silent cries. It seemed hopeless, until fate revealed a hidden hero in the most unexpected way. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of good people stepping up when evil tries to win, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Together, we can keep stories like this alive and remind the world that compassion still matters. Her name was Alina, a woman whose beauty wasn't just in her face but in the way she carried her heart. She had once been a simple girl from a small town, living modestly, surrounded by people who knew the meaning of love and loyalty. But when she met Adrian, the charismatic CEO of a massive company, her world had changed forever. He was powerful, charming, and determined to sweep her off her feet. In the beginning, she thought she had stumbled into a fairy tale. He promised her the world, bought her gowns she never dreamed of owning, and gave her a life filled with glittering parties and shimmering lights. But behind those glittering lights hid shadows darker than she ever imagined. As their marriage unfolded, Alina discovered cracks in the fairy tale. Adrian's charm was a mask, and behind it lay a man obsessed with control, power, and appearances. He never allowed mistakes, never forgave flaws, and most painfully, never treated her as a wife but as an accessory, a trophy to display. When Alina became pregnant, she thought it might change him. She thought a child might soften his heart, melt away his cruelty, and awaken the father inside him. But instead, the pregnancy became another weapon in his hands. He mocked her body changes, insulted her cravings, and dismissed her fears. Every moment she should have felt cherished, she instead felt diminished. Still, Alina endured. For the sake of the life growing within her, she held on to hope. She whispered promises to her unborn baby at night, telling them they would never feel unloved, that no matter what she suffered, they would know kindness. Her nights often ended in tears, but her mornings began with determination. She wanted to believe she could survive this. Adrian's anger, however, was unpredictable. And one quiet afternoon, when the estate seemed too still, it turned into something far more dangerous. What began as another argument escalated into something unthinkable. His words grew sharper, his temper boiling over, and when Alina tried to walk away, he followed her outside to the pool. There, the argument turned into violence. He grabbed her, his voice dripping with cruelty, and before she could scream, he shoved her head under the water. The cold water hit her lungs like knives. Her hands flailed, her body begged for air, and panic surged through her chest. Every instinct in her body screamed not just for survival but for the life of the child she carried. She thought of her baby, of the heartbeat she had heard during doctor visits, of the small kicks that reminded her she wasn't alone. Please, not like this, she prayed in silence, as the world above her blurred into distorted flashes of light. But destiny had other plans. Just beyond the manicured hedges, Marcus, the estate's security guard, had returned early from his shift. He wasn't just a guard, he was a former Marine, a man forged by battle, carrying scars invisible to most. Marcus had seen war, had seen men broken by cruelty, and had promised himself that wherever life placed him after the military, he would never stand idle in the face of injustice again. He had grown fond of Alina in the quiet moments, her polite smiles, her kind words, the way she carried herself with grace despite her husband's dismissive behavior. He suspected she suffered more than she showed, but never until that day had he seen the truth. When Marcus saw Adrian holding Alina under the water, something primal awakened in him. He ran, every muscle trained to move with precision, and with one powerful strike, he yanked Adrian away from the pool. The CEO, shocked by the sudden interference, staggered backward, his arrogance clashing with the reality of facing a man who had once defended lives under fire. Adrian's protests, his shouts of, "You don't know what you're doing," meant nothing to Marcus. Because Marcus did know exactly what he was doing, saving a woman and her unborn child from a nightmare. Alina gasped for air, coughing and trembling as she clung to the edge of the pool. Tears blurred her vision, her body shaking not just from near drowning but from the heartbreaking realization that the man she once loved would have killed her without hesitation. Marcus knelt beside her, his strong hand steadying her trembling shoulders, his voice calm but firm as he reassured her that she was safe now. For the first time in a long while, Alina believed it. The aftermath was not simple. Adrian's empire was built on intimidation, connections, and fear. Reporting him meant risking everything: his wrath, his lawyers, the power he wielded like a weapon. But Alina was no longer afraid. The near-death experience gave her clarity. She realized her silence had been her prison, but her voice, shaken yet unbroken, was her key to freedom. With Marcus by her side, she reported Adrian, stood tall in court, and endured the storm of his manipulations. People were shocked. The media covered it relentlessly, but instead of feeling shame, Alina felt liberated. Through it all, Marcus remained a quiet, steadfast presence. He never sought glory or recognition, he only wanted to see her safe, to see her alive. And as weeks turned into months, Alina began to heal. She gave birth to a healthy baby, holding her child in her arms with a strength she didn't know she possessed. She looked into her baby's eyes and whispered the same promises she had once made in the dark, only now they were real. "You will always know love. You will never feel unloved." Her story was not just about survival, it was about rebirth. From pain came strength, from betrayal came resilience, and from despair came the light of a new beginning. And at the heart of it all was a reminder: sometimes heroes wear uniforms, sometimes they carry scars, but always, they choose to act when it matters most. If this story touched your heart, please show your support. Like this video, share it with those who believe in courage, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Your engagement helps us bring more powerful stories like this to life, stories that remind us of the strength within us all. And before we end, here's a special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness wins," if you believe that love and bravery can overcome even the darkest moments.